Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy show. It is Friday, and you know what that means. It is Ask the Experts. It's your opportunity to ask the question of your choice. Whether you're single or dating, in a committed courtship, engaged, married, separated, on the verge of divorce, whatever your situation is, we can speak into it because we done been there. We done been there, folks, and we know what you're going through. So just put it in the chat box, and we're going to dive into the conversation today. And it's always great when I'm joined by two phenomenal practitioners. Of course, we've got Lakeisha Hines, and we've got Roland Bradley. Good morning, folks. I hope that you're ready to get it and go. Listen, before we get started, make sure you take the time to do what? To like, share, and subscribe. Let the world know that we are on live. If you know other people who are in situations and need help, just do them a favor and share this podcast because it's going to be a blessing to them. Also, really quickly, next weekend is Last Chance Weekend. It's not too late to register. Just set up a discovery call. Let's go into it. People are starting to definitely take interest because they want something new in this 2023 year. Why be addicted to the familiar? Why continue to do things the way you've always done it? So listen, we're going to dive right in. Lakeisha's going to be reading these questions, and she's going to take point. Let's get it.
All right. First and foremost, let me just say, I just want to say thank you for the shout out from Brother Ben. Ben says, good morning from Nashville. What's up, my Foundry brothers? I think that's y'all. It's not me. Cannot echo enough. If you are a man, you need Foundry. No ifs and or buts. The brotherhood and camaraderie being built. Learning to operate as men of integrity is priceless. What? Hassani, you should have been dropping the bomb for being on
saying.
that
one. Ben, we're so glad to have you, man. I mean, and I love the fact that he said that, I don't have any questions because I'm working with these practitioners. See, this is an individual who's realized it takes more than just the show. The show is the appetizer, but sometimes you need that main meal, and that's what we are here for. So we're glad to have him in Foundry 7, Foundry Mastery. I don't even think we talked about that. We got a Foundry Mastery program going on with like 20 men. So it is powerful. We're doing some amazing work. Unearthed, they're hitting it hard. So listen, thanks for the shout out. Appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Shelby Easter says, how can I help my husband with what he is feeling at one moment? He wants to work this out, and the other moment he thinks it's better without me. I know I messed up, but I want to do better. That's why I'm wanting to come and figure this out. I think she's talking about Last Chance Weekend. She wants to come and figure it out.
Well, let me start, and then Roland, you can pick up. I think this space of ambiguity is where many people find themselves. Like there's an ambivalence. One day I want to stay, one day I want to go. It's like different strokes for different folks, but different ways on different days. And that's the emotional volatility that takes place. And so it's the season that you're in. I don't know the specifics about your situation. I don't know how long you've been in the discovery phase, but it is the most volatile phase. And that's why we try to get you out of that as quickly as we can and take you through a process. And that's the power of the Last Chance Weekend, because think about it. Now, I want you to hear this. There's some of you watching right now who literally are teetering on divorce. And you think that traditional weekly sessions where we spend an hour a week talking about our issues is going to help you. It could actually make things worse, because oftentimes when you start a process, now you're forced to talk about what you probably didn't, or now you have a third party asking probing questions that you weren't ready for. And sometimes people say, I can't do this, I'm done. But when you're in an intensive experience for 3 full days, uninterrupted, trapped, the doors are locked, right? You can't go anywhere. We got you. And we're forced to deal with certain things. It allows for a tremendous amount of breakthrough in a relatively quicker period of time. Because if you're in 7 days of hell and you have a 1-hour break weekly to talk about it, it's too long, it's too slow, it's too laborious, it's too painstaking, and you give up before you make it through that process. Roland.
So one of the things is just you have to understand that marriage means work, and we have to be willing to work. We have to be intentional. We have to be willing to go beyond ourselves to fix where we are. And so when you have that attitude of, I appreciate and commend you for you wanting to show up and getting your husband on board to show up as well. But you acknowledging the fact that you've messed up, you admitting the fact that you messed up, and now you're willing to take action to the fact that you've messed up is going to be key. I call those as triple A's. You want to make sure that you do your part and make sure that he's on board. And all you have to do is get him here. Once you get him to us, let us do the work on both of you all so you can have a healing process. You can go through a healing process and you can have a better marriage than you had before.
Love it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say it's crazy because the other day I was channel surfing and ran across the new Sherry show. She took over for Wendy Williams, and she was talking about marriage. Those of you who know who Sherry Shepherd is, she's single. She's been single for quite some time, and she was talking about marriage, and she was saying, I just don't know anybody really signing up for marriage right now because all you hear married people say is it's work, it's work, it's work. Well, you know what we're trying to do is set proper expectations. We're trying to do for you what people didn't do for us. They didn't tell us it was this much work, right? So we're trying to put it out there and let everybody know that yes, it works if you work it. And the reality is this: there's been this trauma that has occurred in your marriage, and it's not something that's irreparable. It's definitely something you guys can come back from, but it's going to take work. It takes work for it to be good. It takes work when you have to restore it. It takes work to keep it flowing and functioning.
Mm.
It takes work in the bedroom. It's work all the time. And anything worth having, you're going to have to
It's
do
work.
some, you have to put in some work. So,
Well, that bet won't work. That's good work. That's
I
fun work.
mean,
I'll
that's
take
tight
that
work.
work. I'm
That's
ready to
tight
get
work.
to work after this show. All right. So
Listen, don't threaten me with a good time. My husband's home today too. So listen, what time we done, Hassani? All right. Mr. Allen Young says, good morning. It's been a year since I had an affair on my wife, and it's been a difficult month for both of us. I still can't believe how selfish I was to jeopardize my marriage and my family. How can I get past the shame I've caused myself and my family?
Well, I can answer that for you. One of the things is you definitely will have to look at yourself and realize the fact that you've messed up, right? And a lot of times what happens is when we're doing our own thing, we don't look at the detriment that we're causing our families. We don't look at the consequence of what we're doing. But one of the things that you can do is change your mindset. When you change your mindset and understand that you want more, you want better for your family and for yourself, then your attitude will change, your actions will change, your lifestyle will change, and you can start pouring into your wife. Because what we have done is we have turned over the bucket that we thought was full or your wife thought was full. And now we have to work on filling that bucket back up for yourself, for your wife. We have to be willing to go the extra mile, if you would, and make sure that you look at yourself as a renewed man. You have
mm,
to go to a place of repentance. You have to go to a place of forgiving of yourself. And then you can walk strongly and walk steadfastly to better yourself and to better your family.
I 1000% agree with what you just said, Roland. I think there needs to be a spiritual awakening because for many of us, as men and as women, we don't necessarily know who we are. We don't know our true identity. And not
Hmm.
knowing our true identity, sometimes we can get caught up in engaging in behaviors that are compromising to who we were created to be. And I've seen that when many men have come into a knowledge of their true selves and they've connected to their creator,
Hmm.
literally, it's almost like that shame that has been hovering over their head has gone away. It's dissipated because they're no longer looking at themselves through their own lenses. They're looking at themselves through the goggles of God. And with forgiveness and repentance and transformation and a renewed spirit, literally, things can turn around. Because at the end of the day, if you're living in shame, you will not be able to show up for your wife and your kids the way that you want to. They will feel it. and it's very compromising and self-sabotaging to a relationship. So get in the word, man. Join a support group of other men who have gone through what you're going through, because they can help pull you out of your situation. Get some counseling, work one-on-one with a practitioner who can guide you through some things. And I think as men, sometimes we try to do everything on our own. I'll read a book, I'll watch a video, I'll YouTube something and figure it out. And it doesn't always work. Listen, we say every man needs a man. We believe that. The key to your success may be connected to another man who's further steps ahead than where you are. So reach out to us.
Yeah, listen, Mr. Allen, I first of all want to commend you for taking ownership of the fact that you were being very selfish when you chose to have an affair. So I definitely want to honor the fact that you are taking ownership and holding yourself accountable for that. I got a little different spin because I'm not tied to the number. You said it's been a year, and I'm not tied to the number because if it was a year of no intervention, then that year doesn't really mean a whole lot, right? Because you've just been in pain and suffering for a whole year if you haven't really gotten the proper support. So I don't want to get hung up on the fact that it's been a year. There needs to be a healthy dose of guilt and shame. There needs to be remorse. You do need to sit in that. And so you're asking, how can I get past it? Well, my thing is, many, many times when we're in pain, we do want to get past it. We just want to skip over it and hop over it. But sometimes you need to sit in that pain so you remember that I don't ever want to feel this again. So, what do I need to do to ensure that I never circle this mountain again? So, I don't know if you've taken the time to really sit in it and then do what Hassani's saying, which is to consult your Lord and Savior and to go through that forgiveness process, which is a completely different conversation, right? Because that forgiveness piece is going to take some time. So there's a process with all of this. And so it's important that we all, even your wife, has to sit in the pain that she is experiencing as a result of that infidelity. So I'm just saying to everyone that we can't be in such a hurry to rush past, skip over, hop over the pain because it's there for a reason. God gave us pain so that we would recognize that something is wrong. And a lot of times we try to ignore it, right? Because we want to get to the pleasure and we want to feel better.
Lakeisha, you hit it dead on. I was just telling somebody literally yesterday, I said, all of us as humans, we're either chasing a feeling or running away from a feeling. Right? We're chasing the feeling of, like, when people are addicted to, say, drugs or alcohol or sex or food or whatever, they're just using the drug or the alcohol, the food or whatever it is as a vehicle to get to a feeling. Right? It's not about the thing. It's about what they're chasing, or they're running away from something. And to your point, this can be compromising to your whole process because there's something that happens when you are in that pit. That's why we say you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because lessons are learned in that experience that you'll never get if you're racing through something to get out of something. So excellent point.
All right. I think this is Renee. And Renee says, good morning. I wanted to know how I can help my girlfriend become more confident. For months, she has been overthinking, and I feel like she is pushing me away. Our relationship is struggling. So I think Renee wants to know how to help the girlfriend become more confident.
Well, there's many books on confidence that you can read. I don't know what her particular issue is and what the source of her self-esteem issue may be. But, one of the things that we tell all people is that whatever you struggle with the most, you need to become a master student of your greatest weakness. So, for instance, if I struggle with low self-esteem, I'm going to read books on low self-esteem. I'm going to watch YouTube videos on low self-esteem. I might get a couple audiobooks on low self-esteem. I'm going to talk to people who've overcome low self-esteem, and I'm going to become a student, and I'm going to study, and I'm going to research, and I'm going to figure out what the root of it is and what it looks like and how it impacts my life and how it impacts my relationships. I'm going to become a master student of it. And then in that process, I'm going to learn keys, hacks, techniques, strategies of what I can begin to do to overcome that particular struggle. Now I've become a master of it. And I think if you spent literally 60 days studying any specific topic, man, your level of competence and expertise on it would be evident. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, so Renee, you and your girlfriend need to be researching the circles of concern, influence, and control, because there's some things that you just have literally no control over, sir. And so right now you're expressing a concern that she's lacking confidence. That's her concern. You have influence over that, meaning you can add to her lack of confidence, or you can contribute to making her be more confident, right? So you have influence over that, but can you control it? Absolutely not. She has to control that. She can do what Hassan is talking about, is becoming that student of how to overcome low self esteem. And I'm curious to know, has it always been this way, or is this something that just recently transpired? Like, where is this coming from? You said you feel like she's pushing you away, the relationship is struggling. What happened? And again, has it always been this way, or was there some trauma or something that occurred that created this lack of confidence in her? So I definitely would try to start there if this is a new issue and it wasn't something that you were dealing with from day one. But definitely just be clear about the fact that you can't control how she feels internally about herself. You have influence, but not control.
Wow. Powerful point. Listen, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to go to a quick commercial break. We see your questions here. A lot of great questions we're going to get to on the other side of this. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. You're watching the Couples Academy Show. All right, everybody, we're back. You're watching Ask the Experts with these two experts. Just to be in their presence, it's good enough for me. We're going to go back to the comments and to the questions. Lakeisha, take it away.
All right. So Tiffany K. Williams says, what do you recommend to aid in dealing with divorce? Things are getting worse for my mental health after finding out the house is now going into foreclosure. I'm not sure what you mean by this last question, sis. I was unable to decode. So I will just stop there and I'll say that I think this is two parts, guys. I think really divorce is broken down into many different areas. It's not just the financial component, it's the mental, it's the emotional, it's the spiritual, it's the physical too of the separation. And I don't know if there are children involved, and if they are, then there's that, the co-parenting thing too. So I think this will be beneficial to everybody if we talk about a couple different aspects, although she's talking specifically about foreclosure right now. So it sounds like she's more concerned about the financial component. So, Roland, can you speak to the financial component of divorce?
Well, we know that the financial component of divorce is huge simply because now you're having to split all of these assets. You know, we are so selfish in our ways because we only think I want to be apart from you. Well, when you be apart from you, right, you now have to think about the house, the cars, the children, your everyday living, your well-being, and the cost that is attached to that is significant. And a lot of times we are not researching these things and the impact that it has on just not ourselves, but on our spouse. And so now, to her point, she said the house is going into foreclosure. So what does that look like for her? Is she
Mhm.
having to get out the house, or is she left in the house that's going into foreclosure? You know, we have to realize and understand that things have to be just like you prepare for a marriage, you have to be prepared for a divorce. And a lot of times we are not prepared for the divorce. We're not prepared to go through the nuances of what that looks like. And so we have to, you know, I tell you, you cannot do this alone. You cannot walk alone. I don't know what family support you have. I don't know, you know, what friend support you have, but I'm telling you that you will not be able to do this alone because the detriment of the finances in regards to divorce specifically. And again, if you have children involved, that takes on a whole nother aspect of finances because now you're thinking about childcare. You're thinking about their way of living every day. And what does that look like? If
Mhm.
you were working or not, if you were at home wife and now you know you're going through this divorce process, you know, what coins do you have to live
Mhm.
off of? And so we have to look at all of these aspects to make sure that you are prepared. But if it's going to your mental health, we definitely have to make sure that we get some help now so that it doesn't get to that point.
You know, if I could weigh in, I remember, man, maybe 4 or 5 years in. I don't know. It's all like a blur to me. But we were at our worst. You know, we had these kids we couldn't afford. We had horrible communication. There was no sex. There were moments where I had a job, but barely was making anything. Then there were seasons when I couldn't keep a job, lost the job, house went into foreclosure. Right prior to the house going into foreclosure, as I've always said before, we were arguing about which bill wasn't going to be paid. So when the rent wasn't going to be paid because we needed to pay car insurance, so we were driving around with insurance so we wouldn't be stopped for the fourth and fifth time because we couldn't. Because and I remember the arguments. It was like, listen, if we don't pay the rent on time, there'll be a late fee, okay? But we can't be kicked out of our home that quickly. But if we're driving around and we don't have insurance or if our license is suspended, they could take the car and we go to jail. So we're fighting back and forth. Which bill are we not going to pay?
Mhm.
And then when it got to the point where we just couldn't keep up with the house and the house goes into foreclosure,
Mhm.
the depression, right? You talk about the mental anguish that as a man I went through.
Mhm.
So as I read that question, I'm not sure if you're saying we're dealing with divorce and on top of it, now we have a foreclosure, or if the foreclosure is pushing you over the edge to make
Mhm.
you think we can't listen, this is just not working. Let's just end it. In that space, in that season, we were teetering on divorce as well. I'm
Mhm.
so glad we made the decision not to do that. Because when people look at us today, when they look at Lakeisha and her husband today, when they look at Roland and Janella today, sometimes they can't imagine you went through that
Right.
and you actually
Right.
overcame and made it. And I'm telling you, sis, I know where you're at. I've been where you are at, but there's a story yet untold. And that there's something on the other side of your current struggle. And this does not have to be the straw that, in essence, breaks the camel's back. You can get through this, you can overcome this. It was because we were willing to finally get help
Yeah.
and do something different. As I said, one of my mentors said, your wisdom has taken you as far as you can go. Now you need to tap into the wisdom of someone else. So we're not going to give you aids to divorce. We're going to aid you in restoring this relationship and turning this thing around because all three of us are living proof that you can do it.
Yeah, and it's never too late. That's the thing. Like even after, because we have had couples come to couples academy who have filed paperwork, and literally before they left last chance weekend, they were like, "Soon as I get home, we're ripping up this paperwork." So it is a situation where it's never too late. Hassani, like I didn't want to follow you anyway. Let's move on because there's another question that I think, gosh, I hope we can get to it, guys. What is the difference between girlfriend and wife expectations? We live together, planning on marrying. I work two jobs sometimes. Is it wrong to expect dinner if I work past my norm time coming home? Sir, first and foremost,
Oh,
let
she
me
didn't
just
start it
say
with
this.
her. She didn't start it with sir. You in
Sir,
trouble now.
first and foremost, you cannot have expectations of this woman to be your wife and perform wifely duties if she is not your wife. So I'm trying to understand, what are we waiting on? You said there are plans to marry. Well, guess what? There's a courthouse. I don't even know where you're located, but there's a courthouse everywhere across the country. Doesn't even matter if you're not in the good old USFA, right? You can get to a courthouse and you can put a ring on it. So you need to wife her if you want her to perform as a wife. That is in every aspect of relationships. So on the surface, we could say, no, you're not asking for a lot for her to have food ready because you're cooking, I mean, working and two jobs, and she should cook and this and that and whatever. But what I am saying is, you have expectations of a wife, but you don't have a wife. So you have complete and total control over that, sir.
I,
I'm
I don't know
done.
what to say after that. I don't know what to say after that. I mean, I, I don't know.
Listen, at the
You
end of
guys
the
are never speechless. Are you serious?
you ain't got nothing to say. If you ain't got nothing to say, I'm gonna say something. I mean, I agree with you. Listen. Here's the reality. We're living in a day and age where marriage has lost its value.
Mm,
Marriage has lost the honor that it deserves, and many people are choosing to cohabitate rather than just getting married. Or let's cohabitate first and figure this thing out. We know that statistically, um, those who live together before they get married, if they live together for a long period of time before marriage, once the marriage happens, it's interesting. There's a higher probability of divorce. Did you know that? I don't know if you knew that. There's a higher
yes.
probability of divorce the longer you live together before you're married than those who do it and quickly make the
It's
shift
called
into marriage.
cohabitation, Hassani. And the old folks used to say it is putting the cart before the horse. It is buying the milk. What is it? Having the milk before buying the cow or something to that effect, which I think was
Why buy the
derogatory,
cow if
referring
you
to
can get
us.
the milk for free?
See, referring to us as cows, I have issues. But anywho, it's cohabitation, and what it is you're sampling what life would be like prior to you making a full commitment. But no, make the commitment. And because it's easy to bow out and tap out when we're just dating, right? But once you sign those papers, there's not only a legal commitment, but there's a spiritual one as well. And you need that, right? To make sure that you're going to continue doing the work to make this work.
The problem is there's so much poison out there today. Like if you follow Instagram or Facebook or YouTube Shorts, you have all these quote unquote experts giving all this advice about feminine power and masculine power and high value men and high value women and what now they're talking about alpha men versus beta men and all this craziness that's distorting our perception of what relationship looks like. And now it's like a competition between singles, who's making more money, who's got more influence, who's going to get more respect, duties and responsibilities, and what you need to do and you need to submit. And they've got it all wrong. They've got it all wrong. And that's why it pushes people to the point where, you know what, I don't know if I want to do this. So let's just try this. Let's just play house. Let's just cohabitate and see how it goes before we make the decision. But to your point, yes.
Hold on. Krim, he's coming for me. He is coming for me. I got you. You said I understand that, but if you rush, then what, bruh? You already rushed. You're cohabitating. You're already living together. So you've already rushed into a marital type of situation before you're married. So that's the then what? You already there. What you gonna do? I'm just saying. You want premarital counseling? We got that. Make the call.
And this is, and what Lakeisha is saying is 1000% right. And she's saying it in love, but it's real. Listen, it's the truth.
All in love.
It is the absolute truth. And if you want things to work in your favor, you need to make that transition. And real talk, we have some phenomenal practitioners who do premarital counseling. They've had years doing premarital counseling. I'm just going to give them a shout out right now. Charmaine Jennings. They are awesome. So please reach out to us, because let me tell you something. So many people said, man, we didn't have no counseling. We didn't have no program. We didn't go to no retreat. We just did this thing and then everything came falling apart because we didn't have the right foundation. And the origin of a thing oftentimes determines its nature. So if you start something off wrong, now you have the foundation for something that's going to be wrong unless you make some significant shifts and changes to do life and relationship different. So come on now. You know what it is. You dialing in the Couples Academy. You know what you was going to get when you came with this question. We got you, though. We got you. Reach out to us. Are there any more questions? Or, I see a lot of comments here.
I think we're good with questions. There's a lot of comments. We want to thank y'all for being here today.
Yeah, Lakeisha's getting a bunch of...
They got their questions in early today, too, Hassani. We got to celebrate the people for getting their questions in early.
Absolutely. So listen, guys, we hope that you enjoyed it. We love you all. We're going to challenge you because that's what we're here to do. But we challenge you in love. And we don't ever call people out, but we call people up because we want the best for you. But we want you to enjoy your weekend. Make it a fun one. And we will see you on Monday as we jump into a new series on the Couples Academy show. See you then.